we are hearing from Pall Sigurdsson. Is that Sigurdsson?
Perfect.
There we go. Perfect. The Art of Monitoring Societies. Paul is a Nagios guru and developer of open source Nagio add-ons. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. A big round of applause.
Thanks. Thank you guys for coming. I was preparing slides like half an hour ago, and I had my friend look it over, and he said, like, you should add your Twitter tag at the top. So I added it, but just so you guys know, this is not my Twitter tag. This is the one I wanted. But I follow this guy vigorously, so if you have any comments, just put them on there. I'll see them. He's a contributor anyway, so it's relevant. So I'm going to talk about monitoring societies. In particular, I'm going to talk about the Monitor Iceland project. Has anyone here seen the Monitor Iceland project? No one has seen it. Good. Okay. Sorry? I would expect it, I would think. So Monitor Iceland, it's just in case you were wondering, it's not the NSA type of monitoring societies. I don't know if you remember this guy from a few years back. It's but well, I would love for it if he would be talking about my project, but I don't think he is interested in it because we're more like this, like signals, or maybe alerts. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to convey, like in very simple signal terms, is Iceland doing good or is Iceland doing bad? You might have a question, what do we monitor? And the short answer is always everything that we feel is important for Iceland. It's a highly opinionated project. But for example, we do monitor how many airplanes are flying over Iceland. And we make deductions like if there's no airplane in the air close to Iceland, we think there is a problem in Iceland. Like a volcano. Does anyone remember that volcano from 2010? Yeah, there were no airplanes back then, and it was a problem. We also monitor car traffic. If there are no cars on the road, then we assume there's a problem in Iceland. Or if there are too many cars in a specific area of the country, then that could also be a problem. We monitor pollution. This is not pollution, this is just sun, so you know. But we're keeping a good eye. I'll let you know if there is pollution out there. We do not monitor politics in particular, and the reason why I put that is we have an issue tracker on GitHub, and people are always asking, could you be like monitoring the political parties and like fire an alert if they're like betraying any promises or I'm like, no, we cannot do that. That's normal. That's not an alert. It's to be expected, kind of. All right, I'm going to show you. So I have a web page here called iceland.adagios.org. Has anyone heard of Adagios? Okay, some people have heard of Adagios. That's good. So this is one of the dashboards that we have in Adagios, and it's actually a funny story. The way we started this project of monitoring Iceland, what we were trying to achieve in the first place was business processes inside Adagios. And we had the reoccurring problem that we were creating business processes. We had a system that was like kind of good enough, but we couldn't show it to users yet because it wasn't like quite ready. So we needed test data. So someone said, oh yeah, let's just like monitor Iceland. And that was like, oh yeah, 3 months later gone of my life. The project shifted a little bit. But we have that, and we have business processes. So hooray. So what do we have here? Front page shows us, you see at the top green, it says Iceland status, and it's green. That means currently Iceland is doing more or less okay. Then we have a few subsections. And if we look, for example, at environment and natural disasters, you see here there are minor problems currently. And if we click on it, we see volcano status says minor problems. That's because there's currently a volcano erupting in Iceland. We see here earthquake levels are normal. They were not this morning. There were a lot of earthquakes this morning. And there's currently a storm alert for the country. So I would say right now maybe it's not the best place to be if you have both storms and volcanoes, but right. This is a metric that I quite like, radiation levels. We have radiation sensors in every quarter of the country. And we monitor gamma radiation, and there was a Fukushima incident a few years ago. You remember that? And everyone saw graphs of like radiation there going up, way up. And then 3 weeks later, we had that same in Iceland. It was like, that's apparently how long it takes the wind to go like all over. Underneath, you see we have, can I get rid of this thing? Oh, maybe not. We have few graphs. You see here we have ultraviolet radiation levels. I don't know, is it important or not important? Particulate matter pollution. I know big cities, they often worry about that, as traffic especially can cause it. Volcanoes can also cause it. And you can see that we go above warning levels quite a few times today. Let's see. This whole week, actually, we've been going over pollution levels. What else do we have here that is good? We monitor healthcare in Iceland. We do take a lot of graphs, but we don't always convert them into Nagios service checks. But there are some that we do. For example, we watch the emergency rooms in Iceland. And we just make a deduction if there's a huge amount of people that are waiting to get into the emergency room, potentially something happened and there is a problem. You can see there's not a lot of people waiting there now. It's only 39 people. We have this nice trend going on here, so maybe we could look at this graph and say like, oh yeah, I have a broken leg, but there's a long queue, or maybe I'll go later tonight. We do watch over ongoing surgeries. You can tell that Iceland is in a different time zone than us because there are only 2 surgeries ongoing right now. I really like this graph because last summer my little cousin, she had an appendix problem. She was rushed to the hospital right away, and this was like 11 o'clock in the night or something. And I was checking out, and I was watching this graph. And there were like 0 surgeries. And then it's like, bloop, 1 surgery. And half an hour later, it was like 0. And I'm calling my sister, like, yeah, she's done. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Sorry?
Where would you get that kind of data?
From the hospitals.
Really?
Yeah. We have, is anyone here who follows like open data movements? You have, okay. Turns out, you see we have a lot of data here of things that, like I'm quite impressed that we got this. Turns out sometimes all you need to do is just ask. It's incredible how much people are willing to give you. We see there have been 7 kids born in Iceland today. Kind of with regular intervals. Here's a blip here. So we also do our best to monitor the Icelandic internet infrastructure, if you can call it that. It can be very hard to put like boundaries on the internet. But we do a few things, like we monitor connectivity to all of the ISPs and see if they're up or down. You see here we have a very useless thing that says DNS service in Iceland, and it's red because some of them are down. Maybe that's to be expected. Hopefully they are redundant. We were also monitoring Heartbleed vulnerabilities. Do people remember Heartbleed? It was that SSL thing, and like everyone was making a big deal out of it. And, we rushed into it, and we were like on regular intervals scanning Icelandic IP addresses and showing graphs for how many machines are vulnerable. And it's actually broken right now because we had like a cluster of 10 machines that was doing scans, but they were deployed elsewhere. And I had forgotten I was running the Heartbleed thing on it. But all of this does give us some data that I find interesting. So, for example, the average response time of a web page in Iceland is 0.58 seconds. Who here finds that that is good? No one. Who here thinks that's bad? 0.5 seconds. Few people. Most people don't care. Yeah. But to compare, we have average DNS response of 0.1 second. I'm quite happy with that. This, however, I think is a terrible fact, that 1 out of every 5 DNS servers is down. And that's a ratio that is pretty static. Sorry?
Sounds like bad data.
No, it's accurate. If you register for an Icelandic domain, there is a requirement that you have 2 DNS servers. Then more often than not, the secondary server goes down and no one notices because there isn't a problem. And they're down for years, until the primary one goes down at least, and you know there's a problem. So all in all, I would say people might not be monitoring their DNS servers. I am. Okay. We have a few things here that are maybe a little bit subjective. So we have a section called culture. And we've been trying like specifically to find metrics that measure happiness. We have EVE Online. I don't know if you know it, but it's MMO, Icelandic MMO that happens in space. Very popular in Iceland. People play it a lot. And you can see it currently has 31,000 players playing online. Pretty good, and it seems they're at a high point, at least for the past 25 hours. We have a graph here called Lonely Hearts in Iceland. Does anyone want to guess what that means? People out, almost. It's people that are currently logged into, like Icelanders that are currently logged into dating websites that are popular in Iceland. This one is also kind of interesting to look at. How many happy hours are going on currently? Well, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning or something over there, right? So it's like, so relax, you're going to get your beer. We also have another graph that we collect. We don't show it here. Maybe we should. It's the price of beer, the average price at a bar. It can be a difficult metric because sometimes you get the beer really cheap, but it's just this small. Let's see, do I have anything else here? So far, no, I don't think so. We have a JSON API if anyone is interested in programming against it. There was a guy in Brazil who sent me an email and was like, "Hey, I made an app for you. It's the Monitor Iceland app. It's based on your JSON API. Here, you can have it. You can download it at the Play Store." And I was like, "Oh yeah, That's cool. Someone made an app. It's crap, but it's good. Go Brazil. Is anyone? Yeah, you're not from Brazil? No, no. Someone is from Brazil. There's always someone from Brazil. Okay. How are we? Oh shit! What do I do now? What do I do with my browser? Ah, did I lose it? Here we go. Okay. Interesting things that have happened, like recently. Vodafone in Iceland was hacked. Am I out of time? We'll see the sequel next year. We noticed immediately because the web page went from being very slow to being very fast all of a sudden because it was defaced. Would have been a good thing maybe, but the size of the web page also went from 80K to like almost nothing. It just said, "Ha, you've been hacked. We have all your SMSs." Oh shit. If I'm out of time, does anyone have questions? No.
What's Vodafone? Oh, gotcha. All right.
It's an ISP.
That's unfortunate. How many ISPs do you have there?
We have 4 big ones. We do watch their response times. We also watch their availability. Sometimes I think it frightens them, but we do watch it.
Comments for Paul?
There must be at least one question.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
This is too cool.
Do you want to buy my EVE Online characters?
How much?
2 billion ISK.
2 billion is.
Anything else for Paul?
Yeah.
So is anybody doing anything with this data? Is there just something fun to look at?
We do a lot of things with it. No, it's mostly for fun. But there are some things that are interested. I want to put up a name and shame list of slowest websites, or maybe the fastest. We'll see how it goes. If I have time, I might do that. If anyone is interested in how this is made, it's all Nagios. We have several clusters of Nagios machines running checks. And we do run Adagios on top of it, and this is one of the standard dashboards in Adagios. So if you want something like this for your own environment that has maybe something meaningful instead of just lonely hearts in Iceland, I encourage you to come to my talk at 4:30. Worth mentioning, it's a community effort. So all the plugins, all the configs, all the software, it's all on GitHub. So if you want to play with it, if you want to make your own, some guys in Canada made a Monitor Quebec with the same software kit. They made a cooler dashboard. It looks better than mine. Otherwise, they're... Yeah, so nothing else. Thanks.
Let's put your hands together for Paul. Thank you.